Hello and welcome to the AssemblyTV studio. I'm your host Teppo Isperia Suominen and this is the demo compo studio. So for our main event here in the studio I have with me Sir Garbage Truck. Hello and welcome.
Hello.
Branch. Hello, welcome. D-Fox back again. Hello and welcome. And Saksalainen Laatu.
Hello.
Hello. So guys, demo compo, what did you think?
Well, it was a little bit disappointing. I mean, there were good demos, but not a whole lot of them. And the overall quality from groups you would think that would make great demos wasn't that good. I'm sorry to say that.
Okay.
I think it was a solid compo in that there were a lot of nice demos, but it was missing the killer. Like, everybody always expects the assembly demo compo to have, I don't know, the big punch by some big group, and that was kind of missing. And then again, we can't expect it if we didn't code them ourselves, so who are we to complain?
Yeah, I think we had some 13 entries, I think, this year,
13,
15 last year.
Yeah.
Generally, I mean, summing it up, I was missing some polish in the post-production. And on the other hand, you could say that this year was full of particles and some kind of boats. We had chips, and you didn't see truck?
All I saw were like exploding Buddhas and like.
Well, there was the one without the boat.
Yeah, well, there were three. There were three demos that had exploding Buddhas. One was even called exploding Buddha. But I mean, that was the theme that I saw throughout the thing, was exploding Buddhas, and I don't know where that came from. Boat? I don't remember any boats. Oh, okay.
a lot of boats.
There was. And,
At least Pyrotech.
Pyrotech had a
Pyrotech,
boat.
yeah.
Yes. I spaced that one. I don't know. First of all, happy birthday, Kiops. I have to disagree. I feel that there was one demo that really stood out for me during the compo. I'll get to it later, but one of them really stood out for me, and I had goosebumps. And it's just really.
There was one, yes. Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that I'd say that there was a lot of good stuff. There was also a comment on the scene set chat right before I went up here saying, oh, there wasn't anything from ASD, there wasn't anything from CNCD and Fairlight. Everything's gone to hell. And it's like, no, it hasn't. They're not the only groups that can make awesome stuff. Everybody can. And just because they weren't here does not mean that everybody should give up and go home.
Yeah, it's like we're expecting things from 2 or 3 groups and everyone else just pack and go home if they're not participating. What's the point?
Yeah, everybody, I mean, all of the demos, first of all, people finished them and released them. This is a major thing. Some people don't do that, and they should.
So thank you to everybody who actually finished the product.
Yes. And all of them were good productions. They were entertaining, and I'm glad I saw them. And many of them are the type where I'd like to see something, the next one that they do. Actually, all of them, but I mean some of them especially. And somebody said to me earlier, my theme is always make more demos. Yes, make more demos. Bring them to assembly and bring them to all the parties. Make more demos. Don't just wait for ASD, and especially do not stop making demos because, oh, I might go up against ASD or CNCD Fairlight and I'm going to lose. No. Make more demos.
Especially this year's compo shows should be a sign for everybody that you don't always have to compete against, the names you've been afraid of since your childhood, but even with a good demo, you can win assembly.
Yes.
It still has to be awesome, and there were demos that were awesome, but it only has to be awesome.
Yeah, you don't have to make the perfect demo that can beat ASD's highlight of the year.
It only has to be good enough.
Yeah. On the other hand, ASD might release their demo at a smaller party, or Fairlight or CNCD might release their demo at some smaller simulator, for example.
Honestly, even if you happen to enter on the same year as ASD, what you can always say is that you competed against ASD.
Yeah.
So
And you probably also, by competing against ASD, you probably ran into Navis, who talked to you about the demo,
Yeah.
and either gave you pointers or said what he liked or what he didn't like about it. I mean, that's one of the great things about the scene is coming to parties is you get to talk to people about the productions and how you did them, and learn things and discuss techniques. And okay, I did that, or oh, you absolutely should not allocate the memory truck. You should actually use a BSS segment. I don't know anybody that would have said that.
No.
Never happened.
Yeah. I think generally, from my observations from many years of going to demo parties, usually a year like this, which wasn't bad, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad, usually it inspires people to come up with new stuff next year. So I would usually say, we had a bad year, but that usually means, yeah, next year is going to be more awesome, because people think or see like, okay, there's room for improvement. Like, okay, I could beat that guy, I could beat this group, so I'm going to go start coding, start doing graphics and music, and next year at Assembly, maybe I can win this, because some people know like what they can do, and if they've seen this compo, maybe some of them are like, yeah, I can win Assembly next year.
Yeah.
So hopefully next year we have a killer compo again.
Definitely. Should we jump into our individual entry picks?
Sure. Yeah, why not?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So let's start with the last entry, I believe, the demo by Adept. Bit of a stutter effect from our end there.
That the GPU freezing up, or was that a video?
I don't know. I would suppose it was the video.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
it's played over network.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
they the demo wasn't like lagging on the.
No.
big screen.
It was lagging on our studio.
Yeah.
So the demo worked perfectly in the compo.
But the reason I suspect why it is lagging, why it is hogging so much network bandwidth, is because, and that's my main criticism of it, there's too much going on the entire screen the entire time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the consensual bandwidth going into my eyes in this demo was steadily high throughout the entire demo. There was never a point on the screen to fixate on. It was always the entire screen full of stuff, which is awesome, but it was overloaded.
Yeah, the Adept seems to have a problem with having too many scenes. They should concentrate on, like, let's say, 2 scenes that have a common team that, you know, their demos just seem to be all over the place and don't have a consistent team, and this is the result that happens if you don't have a consistent team, and you know, it's not just it's not good in my opinion. But I know that the Adept guys are very talented, and they are, you know, they have a great programmer and so forth, and a great musician. But I don't know, they just should concentrate what is their core thing in doing demos only.
Do you think that might be caused, and this is, I remember when Deeper was on one of the compo studios in a previous year, he mentioned that all of their demos are made during the party. They come to the party, they sit down, and they start. So do you think that they're, that maybe by doing it that way, that actually causes them to try to force everything into one thing, and they don't maybe have enough time to space out or to add, maybe look at it overall and do a design type thing?
Not necessarily. I think they just use a consistent team, like 1 scene or 2 scenes, and not like 8 scenes that have a totally different team.
Maybe reduce the number of themes is what you would.
Yeah.
If you were directing them, you might say, cut out a couple scenes.
Yeah.
But
Which scenes from this one would you cut out?
I like the whole liquid scene, but some of the stuff that I can right now remember looks awful. But I think I actually like the water team overall. I think they should just stick with the liquids and so forth. For example, for this demo.
Okay. I would have left in, and I'm not saying I would have cut anything, but if I were to need to cut something, I would absolutely keep that first scene with what I saw as a flaming bird. Maybe it wasn't a flaming bird, but I liked that.
Yeah.
We discussed it when we watched the demo. That I think, yeah, every scene itself, it's pretty nice. But at the end, they just pushed everything they had. Like they were building up a lot of stuff and had a lot of things sequentially, and then at the end, just bam, just show us everything at the same time. That was what was said. You were just overwhelmed by the amount of content, and that just made it a bit worse.
Yeah. I have to agree. I think perhaps overall visually the demo was the most, I don't know, polished.
No,
but at the same,
I wouldn't agree.
Okay, well, I don't know, not the best one, but I would think the most polished one for me. But what it needed was space. It did not have enough space for the scenes to actually work, or the scenes themselves were cluttered with too much stuff. With that, I have to agree. But for me, it seemed the most polished one. You can change my mind during the studio, I suppose. You probably will.
We're going to try.
To me, it looked more like all of the objects appearing in the demo and all the scenes appearing. Like if you looked at any corner of that, it was optimized and nice and beautiful. But it looked more like it was optimized only looking at a corner of the screen at a time, and then the complete thing was for me it felt like it was never the complete demo that was polished. It was every single thing was polished, but the complete thing just wasn't.
I'd have to watch this again to be able to comment on that, but I'll have to believe you in that because, like I said, it needed space. There's a lot of stuff happening. You couldn't really take in everything that's going on because there's like 2, 3, 4 things going on at the same time.
I wonder if we should vote now.
At some point we should.
Yeah. No, I was thinking Demo Ilta style.
Points. No.
Oh. I don't think we have that kind of time tonight.
Oh, okay, all right, we won't do that then.
Any more comments on the Adept demo, like position?
Not necessarily, but I do. I mean, first of all, they greeted Division, and I was told that Division are still wanting to make demos. They just didn't have time to do one for this year. They assured me that they would be making one. So it'd be great to see Division versus come back next year with something to go up against whatever Pyrotech brings next year. Okay. Absolutely want to see the demo for next year. I think it was a solid demo from Pyrotech. Was it their greatest work?
We're still at the Adept one, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, we are?
Yeah. You jumped the Pyrotech.
I might have had a high.
Okay.
One more comment to the Adept demo. Apart from being overloaded visually, it had very, very good production values. The pacing was great. Yeah. The music was fantastic. They obviously put a lot of thought in what they're doing. That was visible, and that was really good.
Okay.
You know, it was a good enough demo that I actually got it confused with the Pyrotech demo.
So that's a plus then.
Yeah, it's either a plus or Truck's brain has short-circuited.
Did we just talk 5 minutes about a demo, Truck, that you don't remember?
No, I do remember it. I just remembered the wrong group. At the beginning, I remembered right. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Brain.
Let's go to our next pick. The demo by TRBL. So, thoughts on this one?
Mog, I hope you greeted Cosmoplovsky. I really do. That demo has that reminds me a lot of some of the work that Cosmoplovsky has done over the years. And I think I'm butchering their name, but I like the minimalism. I really like the soundtrack, and I found it interesting that it was released here. Well, I partially know why it was released here. I mean, the TRBL guys wanted to have something because they came to Assembly. But I think it's an interesting choice of design for Assembly. Assembly normally doesn't have as much minimalism. And it was good to see that in the compo. I liked that.
My opinion, what I really liked about the demo is that everybody sees something else in it. I mean, I was talking to some people, both while it was showing, like to the left and the right of me, and also afterwards, and everybody went. I'm seeing Japanese fighting robots in this demo the entire time. One person next to me was seeing birds, and the other one was seeing torture scenes. So,
Okay.
so actually, if this is supposed to be one of these inkblot tests, this really works, and it exposes something about your character. So,
I mean, at some point I
big
saw a
thumbs up
bunny.
to
Yeah.
Monk. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to actually agree that I saw Transformers in the demo. So
I saw a Cosmoplopsy demo. I guess maybe my mind is stuck on demos for some reason.
That's it.
And
Why is that? Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's fantastic that they managed to create something that some people see as fighting robots and some people see as torture scenes, just by having a randomly filled, randomly squiggly line. That's really, really good.
Like a Rorschach demo all of itself.
And it is from what I know, it's actually completely random. Well, not completely, but the shapes are different every time you watch it.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, Mock is nodding, so yeah, I'm right.
That is cool.
Yeah, so I know a bit of a background of why it was released here, if that's interesting, but maybe you should finish talking about the technical aspects.
No, I think that's
or anything.
interesting. Go ahead and go into that.
I mean, okay, I'm going to share a little story. It's the story why, well, me and Mark are here at Assembly. Basically, like, I think on Wednesday, I decided, well, I should go to Assembly. I've never been there. And on this night, I had a talk with Mark on the phone. And he was like, oh, you're going to Assembly? That's so nice. I want to go to Assembly too, all my life. And I'm just like, well, why don't you just buy a ticket now? And then we go to Assembly together. And he was like, yeah, actually, why don't I do that? Then we figured out some ticket options and bought a ticket in like 15 minutes time or something. And then somehow we kept on talking. And he was like, oh, how great would it be to have a demo at Assembly? I was like, well, why don't you do a demo for Assembly? I mean, there's still like 24 hours time, so should be able to do something. And then, yeah, we both got excited. We kept on talking, like, I think until 3 or 4 in the night. Chatted up a lot of musicians, like, okay, we need the soundtrack. It shouldn't be too long, but it should be fitting to the visuals, because he had that already. And I remember we were talking to Luguber over Twitter. Luguber actually made a soundtrack, which didn't make it into the demo. And we had like other musicians. We talked to Ferris, to Red from Mercury, who eventually supplied the soundtrack. And yeah, it was an interesting evening conversation, which resulted in I wasn't really involved in whatever was happening there at the demo, but I really love how it turned out. I mean, it was great watching the demo from my own group at Assembly. And it was at a position in the compo, which it split the compo, I think, in like I think it was 7th or 8th, so like exactly in the middle, and it was like a kind of a turning point, because after the TRBL demo we had the Quiet demo, I think.
Yeah.
There was like a good cut. Like, I'm not saying like we separated the compo in like two quality different halves, but it was like a good break, and then like go on with the compo and then show something different.
Yeah. And I think it's great that you both came and put the demo forth. So great job altogether.
Well, the credit belongs to Mark and Red, obviously. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just a facilitator.
Well, it's nice to have you here in the studio as a facilitator. And thank you to Mark and Red for the demo. Definitely. Any more comments on TRBL 1?
this might have been the first dynamic demo at Assembly. You said that the demo will show up differently every time you run it. So this might be the first dynamic demo at Assembly.
That might actually be true.
Yeah.
I think there was. Well, let's see. Alt Party had a dynamic compo at one point, but that was Alt
Yeah,
Party.
that was all party.
I think somebody
had that as well.
Yeah, I think somebody entered. I think there was a 4K at one point that somebody entered for that, but because it used words, it wasn't allowed to be in because it might actually bring up something. They couldn't guarantee that it would not bring up something on the screen, so they couldn't put that up. But so it might be. You might be right. That might be the first one that's made it to the big screen.
The compo rules, I actually read them on Thursday once, and they actually forbid the entry to be significantly different every time it runs. It can be. I mean, this one in its nature is still the same.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why it's cool. But I guess some people may be scared of from doing. anything
Why
like
can't you do a dynamic demo if it's I
don't know.
if it's art style, and it looks good, and you still will see a perfectly nice demo at the screen.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what's the point of not allowing to have a dynamic demo at the competition.
That's a very good question.
It is, but we're only at the second entry and we're already discussing rules.
If you want the rules change, make a demo about it.
Kind of like in the old school entries this year.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that would have done that.
No, I would never.
Oh, no, you wouldn't, no. Goodness gracious. Should we move onwards to our third pick? So the demo by Humane.
Yes.
So,
Well, first of all, made with Unity. We've reached the point in a couple of years ago, a group called Poo Brain released, I believe, the first Unity demo. And since then, the scene has kind of, they argued, of course, about whether or not it was okay to use somebody else's demo or somebody else's engine, or if you had to create your own.
Yeah.
And since then, we've seen demos made with Unity, made with Unreal Engine, made with
Multimedia Fusion.
well, yeah, that too, actually. And we've kind of accepted that, yeah, as long as you're, I mean, there's still got to be code that's involved with it. It's just that somebody else wrote the engine code. And I believe that there was a group called Mercury that at one point was saying, do not spend your time building an engine, instead make a demo.
Yes.
yeah.
So in such, yeah, made with Unity, that's something you can pick up and start making demos. Secondly, this was a first demo. The Humane guys have done stuff in the past, but this is the first demo of this particular coder, as I recall. I'm sorry, I forgot who it was. I'm absolutely sure I know, but my brain, obviously, is not completely here. So this is an example of everybody can make demos. And again, more people should try it and make them. Yeah. And that was an awesome first demo. I want to see the next one. I always do want to see the next one, but I mean, I really want to see the next one from this.
Let's hope there is a next one.
I'm encouraging them right now, make a second demo. Go in a different direction, play with stuff, just make another demo. I want to see it.
I want to pick up a point from what you said about it. You don't need to make the engine, just make a demo, because that's something that people easily get stuck on. I need to actually create it from scratch. It's too hard, I don't have the time, I don't have the resources. But if you can use Unreal Engine, didn't it enter the top 3, or did it even win?
Last year, I think it made second place.
Yeah, second place.
That's right.
Yeah. So you can make something completely astounding with an engine that's already there, as long as you know what you're doing. So don't get stuck on the engine, just make a demo.
But here's the question that I have. I already know the guy who made the last year's second place demo. I heard that he only coded one thing, and it was that if you press escape, the demo will end. It was the only thing that he coded.
Did somebody else code the rest of it then?
No, well, the Unreal Engine company and the people working there coded everything else, and he actually took all the the dancing models in the demo from they were public domain. That was the whole point, that you should at least do some coding, or what's the point of demos in it then?
Well, I kind of disagree a bit. I mean, the question of using a ready-made engine is not new since Unity. I mean, we had Farbrausch releasing Werkzeug 2 in like 10 years ago at least, or around that. We have still releasing their demo tool for like a year or something, and people are doing stuff with ready-made engines, even though they're demo scene made engines for like a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember what was it called? The engine from Moppy?
Yeah, there was
Demopaya? Demopaya?
Yeah.
I mean, that was used by people, not Moppy.
Yeah.
So it's not a new thing. Maybe it's people are a bit offended somehow that it's commercial stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the point. But generally, should we talk about a demo or about engines?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the demo scene. We talk about everything and argue about it. Because we're
All the
opinionated.
time.
I was just about to point out, to coming back to the art style of this specific demo, when it started, and the first scene, like with this text mode-ish rendering overlay on it, and going back and forth between that and the other renderings, so it reminded me very, very much in its style to Trilobit and Quadtrip demos. And first I thought, is this just a Quadtrip demo released on a different name? Do the Quadtrip people now do Unity demos? It was a bit weird, and then I figured out that it's actually new people, but they managed to get this Trilobit-like feeling to it. They managed to get, and Trilobit is a group that I admire very much for having this very unique style, and they managed in their first demo to get something very similar happening. So that's a very, very good sign for the future, because I want to see more of that.
Yeah.
Oh, you expected me to talk.
No. I was just checking if any of you have any closing comments, but should we move on to our next pick? An entry that we already actually mentioned, let's say, the Quite and T-Rex one.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, now that we watched a bit of this one, I actually have to take back what I said about the Adapt one. It's not the most polished one. This one was the most
you.
polished one.
Yeah.
I just forgot that this entry was, I don't know why, but it kind of just passed out of my mind during the discussion conversation that we had here.
Because it was in a weird place in the compo.
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
It
trying to
was
bring
in a
that up,
weird
yeah.
place in the
Yeah.
compo.
I would have, well, I wouldn't have put it first, because then all the other...
It would have overshadowed the whole competition.
But I might have put it later in the competition.
I would have
Even
put it
last.
maybe last or
Yeah.
second to last.
Yeah, I would've
second
put-
to last.
I
Second to
would've
last
put-
to last, yeah.
Last, I'd say last.
Yeah. Because it was what, 8
Yeah. so
in 13.
We had very high expectations after the Quiet demo. And the next one showed up, we were like, oh, there's more. Because it had the feeling of a winner demo.
Yeah.
Like from start to finish. Beautiful, all the colors. The content was fresh.
Yeah.
I
And it had precisely the space that the Adapt demo was missing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the screen. If you look at the screenshot from the demo, there's a lot of empty, but it doesn't feel empty. There's a lot
Yeah.
of just background, and it frames everything perfectly.
There's something you focus on, and then it really keeps you focused on whatever's there. And technically, I believe it was done with DirectX 11.
but it was not the one that was done with Vulkan, so
No.
yeah.
I think it was DX11.
I think it was.
Well, very well made. I don't think we've seen a lot of DX11 here.
I mean, on this very upper end of modern graphics tools, it doesn't really like from the visual impression doesn't make a big difference if you're doing DirectX 10 or 11 or 12. You can do global illumination if you can do it. You can do it in any of those. It may be trickier or easier, or faster or slower. But I mean, the visual fidelity that we're seeing is not a direct consequence of it being DirectX 11.
Yeah.
It just shows that these people have recently put their effort into getting their tool chain up there.
Yeah, definitely so. Any more comments on this?
Oh yeah, I'll just go on for ages on this thing. I mean, first of all, there were elements of Cocoon demos from both this year and last year that this evoked with me. I was like, this is, I mean, good stuff from Cocoon resonated in my. I had goosebumps during this demo. This one is the demo that I'm taking home from this thing and watching multiple times. I mean, mad props to Quite and T-Rex for this one, because I mean, I just absolutely love this demo. I guess everybody knows who I'm voting for now. But there were also, I look at it and I'm, you know, the comments about, oh, there wasn't anything from CNCD and Fairlight. This could have easily beat anything from CNCD and Fairlight in my mind.
True. Yes, I agree.
And the same thing with ASD. This was top quality demo. There's a certain thing that'll happen next year that we need to make absolutely sure that the Quite guys can get to. I mean, just somebody needs to nominate this for something later on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just big demo. Big.
I think this demo is something that will end up in many demo shows. Like if you, it would be a demo that if somebody would ask me, what's the demo scene about? It would be one of the demos. I would say, okay, this is a modern demo, like very recent, that I can show to people to tell them about the demo scene, like to show them, okay, that's like we have the technical aspects and we have the artistic aspects and we have great music and it just fits together for like it was awesome.
It's true.
Design, tech, just
technically and artistically, I was very impressed that it had a visual rhythm while having a more or less ambient soundtrack. I mean, very often in the demo scene we see that there's very rhythmic music and the cuts are always being done on the beats because that's easy and that works really well. But this one had a relatively laid-back soundtrack, but it had a visual. It developed while it was going on, a visual rhythm, and that's something I have seen very, very rarely in the demo scene, and that's really what impressed me most about it.
I did like how the demo interacted with the environment, all the particles that came from the sources and so forth, and it felt like very natural, unlike many other demos might be very mechanical. So this was very different from all the other demos.
It's had a very good flow in it altogether from start to finish. I have to agree.
and it was the right length.
Yes.
Not too long, but not too short.
Yeah.
I have to agree. Should we move onward?
Only if you really, really want me to not talk about this demo all night.
We'll have to stop at some
All
point,
right.
so let's go forward. Next pick would be Pyrotech's demo.
I guess the titty.
So, actually, a lot of things on this demo we've kind of discussed on the show already. You already skipped to Pyrotech at one point.
I kind of.
So-
Let's talk about Pyrotech now. Yeah.
So, let's talk about Pyrotech now.
I missed the teddy bear until I just watched the scene.
Yeah,
There's always the teddy bear in every Pyrotech
Yeah,
demo.
I actually didn't notice it as well before now. I missed it on big screen.
So I have to watch that one again to get more details from it. I mean, there's obviously stuff that I missed. I really liked the. I had forgotten that it opened with the snow scene. I really liked the snow scene. And I think I actually, again, I've got this one. There are parts of this one that I have confused with the one from Adept.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let other people talk about it because I've got those two confused.
For me, this was a bit of a problematic entry, mostly because I really like Pyrotech demos, so I've watched a lot of them. So I'm not sure if I'm thinking of this Pyrotech demo or a Pyrotech demo from years ago, because, well, they have a very distinct visual style, very, like, you know a Pyrotech demo when you see a Pyrotech demo, which is at this point also unfortunate, because I can't distinguish this one from the previous ones.
And
There was nothing that really picked it out for me from the other Pyrotech demos I've seen.
And that's, to me, it looks that's especially because they have not done a lot to their rendering technology. The rendering technology looks like it's, well, maybe not 10, but maybe at least 5 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's none of the well, more modern physically based rendering techniques. The lighting is all very direct. The shadows, look like
Yeah,
old technology shadows.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, what I heard from the guys, I've talked to some of them, and I have the idea that they just don't have the time to build a new engine, and they just have to use their very, very old engine by now.
Okay.
And that's why, that might be one of the reasons why it still looks kind of similar, and you cannot really recognize between different Pyrotech demos because the rendering techniques are still the same that they were 5 years ago.
Okay, I think that is probably the biggest visual reason. And of course, well, style-wise, they have a very consistent
That's true.
art style, which is only a good thing. But again, it becomes a problem when the rendering doesn't change.
But for a group that claims to have very little time to develop their stuff, they are putting an awesome amount of effort into the models, into the textures. I mean, all the artistic assets look fantastic in
Yeah.
this demo, and the camera pathing, the framing of everything was very, very nice. So if they, I mean, of course, I'm not proposing they put less effort into that, but if they put a similar effort into just upgrading the engine, making, there are some cheap tricks you can put even on some lipstick you can put on a stick that on a pick that even makes this old engine probably look much better. So that would probably help very much.
I have a radical suggestion for them. I don't know if this will work for them, but hear me out. Maybe they should not release next year. They should use the time they have to build a demo next year to actually upgrade their engine.
Yeah, imagine how this demo would have looked like with like current technology.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome. I was blown away by the first couple of seconds, but then you notice like there's just something modern missing. There's like missing some depth of field and some blur and stuff like that. And if that would have been there, it would have been definitely a contestant for the top 3.
Yeah, and definitely a demo we would remember years from now.
Yeah.
Not a bad demo. Oh, by
No,
and-
No, not at all.
Every year that they put out a demo, the artistic style and the direction of the demos gets better and better. It's something that's really good with them. But maybe your proposition would be good to actually enhance the mechanics that they have. Pop the hood and actually put a bit of effort under there as well.
Yeah.
Or maybe just borrow somebody else's engine for a while, make a demo next year while making their own engine.
That might be a good idea.
That could actually work as well.
Because don't lose the time because they're in a rhythm of making one demo every year for assembly. Make the next one, but maybe also have the guys that are, instead of upgrading the engine, just, okay, here's how we do it in this other engine that's already been done. Now we know how to do that now, and put out the next demo. And then the year after that, you've got 2 years to create an engine that it runs on Vulkan or what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting, to skip ahead, that we did have an entry that was used Vulkan.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen that before.
Not that I can think of. No.
I don't even remember when Vulkan was actually announced. Was it before last year's assembly?
No,
just a
but-
couple of months ago.
Yeah.
But there has been some Vulkan demos. I at least know that Visual has been doing something.
That's true. Yes, that's right. He made the first one, like
Yeah.
the day after it came out or something, because it's Visa. So of course he did.
He can do that.
But what confused me about that particular production was it said that it was coded in assembler, and a couple people I said, well, why would you code in assembler these days? And especially since mostly it was obviously very GPU and not CPU bound. So it's like, why was it done in assembler? Did they just say that in order to get people to pay more attention to it? So I hope not. But there were some questions from folks. Why did you do it in assembler? So to the Polish folks that put that together, and I know they were Polish because they graded XTD. Folks were wondering, well, why did you do it in assembler?
It looked like from the contents that they're in there that this tool was basically doing a long list of full screen shaders, one after the other. So if you're actually running everything on the GPU, you just need your setup code. You tell Vulkan or whatever API you're using how to set up the screen, how to set up your buffers, and then you just dispatch compute or dispatch your rendering. And when you've written that in C, you just need to take these function calls and rewrite them in assembler, and then it doesn't really matter in what language you do it after all. Which is part of the reason why WebGL in JavaScript behaves so much like any other OpenGL, because in the end, if you're just running on the GPU, it doesn't really matter what language you're using on the CPU at the same time. So it might just have been that somebody wanted to write it in assembler. So
weren't they like first timers? Yeah. So I think they should have not just picked well, they were doing for some schooled projects, I think, but if you think like a demo coder, I don't think they should have picked Vulkan for their first demo. They should have picked something that you could design more and do like more interesting stuff than just. Honestly, some of the effects were straight from shader toy. So,
but I mean, I think in the credits it said that it's like university people, so it might be students who just are doing this like in the course of their studying, and so it might have been. I mean, it's always a good idea for students to try to release something at a demo party because you get nice feedback.
Definitely,
you get feedback on your technology, you get feedback on your design choices, and you have something to show. To your professor and everything. So we had that at revision quite a bit. So I think, despite of it wasn't like the prettiest demo. It didn't run very fast, but I think the effort was great. And from that aspect, I liked it very much.
Yeah, I don't.
It was newcomers, new people. Hopefully very young.
Yeah, I don't think that we are trying to bash them, but I mean, they should for the next production, plan a different strategy how to do their demos.
Dear teaching staff of Warsaw University, if our discussion here goes into your mark finding process, please give them full points because it was very awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely so. Unfortunately, we do not have the time to go through all of the demos, so wrapping up, closing comments on the demo compo this year after this discussion. What are we left with?
Quite.
Yeah. No epoch demo.
Yeah, no epoch demo.
No epoch demo.
We get better epoch. We want to see that released.
Definitely. So our closing comment would be quite good.
Yes,
quite good.
Quite good with versus T-Rex.
Versus T-Rex.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for joining me in the studio. This was the demo compo studio for AssemblyTV. So thank you, and have a nice night, have a nice rest of the party, and to everyone watching, listening, have a good night. AssemblyTV out.
Festival.
Festival.